otherwise known as Super Sexy.
Super Sexy here with my Super Nintendo fighting games collection. Versus Fighter, whatever the hell you want to call it. First up, Clay Fighter. This game was actually pretty popular when it was released. Yeah, it had the stop motion claymation graphics, or whatever the hell you want to say. It was a gimmick fighter, visually interesting for its time. It's not a deep fighter. Most people without rose-tinted goggles probably won't want anything to do with it, but that's good for a laugh, and it's good if you want to revisit it because you played it as a kid. With Clay Fighter, it was successful enough to get Super Street Fighter 2 incarnation with Clay Fighter Tournament Edition. This is the same game as the first, but this switches some stages up so you get new backgrounds, and I think it adds animation and maybe rebalances the characters. Worth it if you were a Clay Fighter enthusiast. There was also a Clay Fighter 2 on Super Nintendo. I do not have it. I'd like to get it at some point. Next up, Fatal Fury 2. I haven't played much of this. What I did play I did not like. I don't think it's a very good port. The Sega Genesis port of Fatal Fury 2 is pretty damn good. Fatal Fury on Super Nintendo I don't think was good until Special, and Special was a pretty solid port for the system. So Fatal Fury 2 on Super Nintendo you can avoid. Tournament Fighters on Super Nintendo, really damn good game. To me, at least. I think this game does everything pretty good. Visuals are nice, audio's good. It's kind of Street Fighter clone-ish in the sense where the control scheme and gameplay is very, very similar, which is not a bad thing. I mean, if you're gonna copycat gameplay mechanics, then copy good ones. So yeah, the visuals are very much like the Archie comic and cartoon from back in the day, which a lot of people that grew up in the late 80s, early 90s have fondness for. So yeah, visually, gameplay-wise, I mean, it's above average in every capacity, bordering on great. So very good, and the Sega Genesis version to me is a freaking train wreck. It sucks, and I'm angry that I rented the Genesis version as a kid. Next up is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Fighting Edition. It looks like you're gonna get a crappy kids tie-in video game, but this is actually a very solid playing one-on-one fighter, and visually I think it was a 95 release, so visually it's really well done. The engine was actually reused in a Japanese exclusive Super Famicom game that I can't remember the name of right now. Something, not Transformers, but anyways, this is a very solid fighting game and worth it to pick up. Now we go to the gold standard, Street Fighter 2, the original. Huge for Nintendo to have this as an exclusive for about a year, a little over a year if we're talking just directly with Sega. So yeah, Street Fighter 2 for its time was, throw around the term arcade perfect port, but it was considered extremely good. It still is good now. The only thing that kind of sucks with the vanilla Street Fighter is obviously, I mean, the speed is extremely slow, but if you can get past that and some of the refinements in the gameplay, I mean, it's still worth to revisit every now and then. Next up, Street Fighter 2 Turbo. So here we get the speed, and it does go up to 10 stars on Super Nintendo. You need a code for that though, up to 4 without a code. So the gameplay is here. It's fast, it's fluid. You get a few extra voice clips. Now you can play as obviously the 4 boss characters. Yeah, and a subtle improvement in every way. Some revised moves and balancing. So yeah, this was obviously another big hit for Capcom and Nintendo. Oh yeah. I don't know. Super Nintendo's Turbo versus Sega Genesis Champion Edition, Special Champion Edition. It could go either way. I prefer fighters on Genesis because of the controller and button layout. This game looks better. It's not like a huge, difference, but it looks better, and certainly has better voices. Yeah, better voices. Next up, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Another really solid game. Adds the 4 new playable characters. Fei Long, Cammy, T-Hawk, and DJ. Yeah, I actually think the Super Nintendo version has solid music, really good music. It's missing some voices. There's 32 megs. They put everything they could in there, but you're missing voices here and there. Gameplay is pretty sound, pretty good. The speed, turbo speeds only goes up to 3, which is disappointing. I don't know why they wouldn't let you go up to 10 like Street Fighter 2 Turbo. But 3 is, it's decent speed. A tiny bit of slowdown here and there in this version. But yeah, I mean, it's not a bad version at all. It's really good. I prefer the Genesis version. The Genesis version plays better and has some of the missing voices, or all the missing voices in this version. Not the best quality at all, so pick your poison. You want a good, better looking, slightly better looking, better sounding version, or do you want a better playing Genesis version? Yeah, pick your poison. Like I said, better playing or better looking and sounding. One of my favorite fighters of the 16-bit era, Fighters History. This was Data East, kind of their Street Fighter inspired fighter. Capcom did sue Data East. It didn't hold up, or it didn't go through, or they failed in their litigation or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's just inspired by Street Fighter. You get your own different characters. Solid fighting game. I really wish the Genesis port was made. Yeah, Super Nintendo port's awesome. Yeah, I don't know if this is a fighting game. It kind of is. Super Punch-Out, boxing game, fighting game, whatever. Very solid. Goofy visuals, dramatic visuals, exaggerated, whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like pattern gameplay where you look for your opponent to have a visual cue and then, bob out of the way or punch during that cue. Yeah, I prefer Greatest Heavyweights, but they're kind of different animals. This is more goofy and fun, and the Greatest Heavyweights on Genesis is more realistic and simish. Last versus fighter I have for the Super Nintendo, Killer Instinct. I vividly remember playing this at a Toys R Us kiosk as a kid. I was all in on the pre-rendered graphics hype when Donkey Kong came out. Even though this came out, I think, only 6-7 months after Donkey Kong did, I didn't hate the graphics, but I was over, the shock factor was over. So for me, visually, I don't think this is the Super Nintendo port, at least. I don't think this is as good as looking game as Donkey Kong. So when I saw this, I was like, okay, I'm not a huge fan of the graphics. And then I played it, and I was like, well, okay, I'm not a huge fan of the gameplay either. This game was extremely popular. What I did like I think everybody else liked, was the announcer voice when you go all crazy over combos and all that stuff. But I'm not straight up, I'd play Eternal Champions any day over Killer Instinct, especially the Sega CD version of Eternal Champions. That's it.